Now, nearly 300 schools in Gauteng have been left without water and electricity due to unpaid municipal bills. Many of the affected institutions are no-fee paying schools, raising serious concerns about the impact on teaching as well as learning. Now, the situation has sparked outrage among parents and education stakeholders who are calling for urgent intervention from both the provincial government and municipalities. For more on this, we are now joined by the Gauteng Education spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Of course, we had been hoping to speak to Gauteng Education MEC, Matome Chilwane, as we had been trying to put forward then, as we had really actually showcased as well a little bit earlier, of course, unavailable at this stage. But Mr. Mabona, thank you so much for the time. Appreciated then this morning. Let's just start with who is to blame in this whole saga. I mean, was there sufficient warning even given to these schools?
Good morning, Aravili, and to all our viewers. No, it's not true that about 300 schools are disconnected or don't have water. Remember last year, around September, October, we had a challenge of paying municipal accounts. And what we did was to approach all the municipalities to say, don't disconnect us. We will be paying you next year, meaning this year. And we made a commitment, we signed the agreements to say we'll pay them. But then we were not disconnected, and we had electricity and water. But we had challenges in Ekurhuleni, but we then resolved. In April...
Hold on, Steve, I'm so sorry. I'm going to actually interject then there because it helps to provide clarity in this moment then. So you're saying that the response that was given to a written response that was given on the issue raised by the Democratic Alliance's shadow MEC for Education, Sergio Dos Santos, is incorrect then? Are you saying that what was detailed in that written response, which is that 536 schools endured some sort of billing-related disconnection in 2025, is untrue?
No, it's very sad because, politicians will ask questions, they will ask the department questions, and having the answer with them. So then when they issue those statements, they will be economical, but they have their reasons. But allow us to put a perspective without going to Dos Santos. We are in a position to explain on what transpired. So I was still continuing to say, then in April, we paid all what was outstanding from last year and up until March. So now what was happening was us to also transfer additional funding to all schools now for them to pay what is outstanding, and they will be in a position to pay for the remainder of the year. So we have in June allocated funds to all schools. All Section 21 schools, they have received the money. What must happen now? They just need to pay. So they will then have to settle what is outstanding and pay, in future, for their accounts. So we're not going to be having any disconnection because they have money in their accounts. What must happen now? SGB and the school management must be in a position to pay because they have the money.
All right. And then the notion of at least 60 million, with an M, the value of unpaid municipal accounts amounts to 60 million rand, with the schools disconnected for 30 days, owing over 100,000 rand each, is the notion that was put forward. So is that to say that that figure is not true, that figure doesn't exist? It's not 100,000 per school plus minus?
I'm not going to go to figures, but I will be saying to you, we paid for all the schools that were owing, and we allocated now money in June for them to pay, the remainder of the months, like it will be April, May, and June, because now June is ended. And moving forward, they will have money to pay for July and all the other months, up until the end of the year. So that's a perspective we are putting without going to figures.
Yeah. Where do you think then that this notion put forward by the MEC, Shadow MEC for Education, Sergio Dos Santos, actually comes from then with regards to schools not being able to have electricity? At least 4 schools have their water disconnected for between 10 and 27 days, with the remaining having had their electricity. Where does this notion then come from?
You know, they ask questions, and when we respond, they will then on a normal day, be selective or not give you the entire perspective. They will be selective to say, yes, we agree to say schools will be disconnected, or there's an outstanding, amount of money that needs to be paid. But without saying that, yes, there was the outstanding amount, but this is what they've transpired, because they don't want to speak for the department. They will only focus on what they want to portray. So we at the department, we are here, we are giving you the picture that in April, we paid all what was outstanding on behalf of the schools, and which is something that we are not supposed to be doing, because schools must pay for themselves. It's legislated. All Section 21 schools must pay for themselves. The only schools that we pay for is your Section 20. By that, I mean those that we have taken over their financial management because of different reasons. We will pay for that. And there are less than 200 of those schools. So we have over 2,300 schools in Gauteng. So meaning that majority of schools would have received their allocation in June, and they will be in a position to settle their accounts and pay, up until the end of the year.
Okay. Steve, over the last year or so, actually over the last 5 years, should I say, you've given a lot more financial autonomy, or let's call it the ability to self-govern, to a lot more schools, and given them, a lot more Section 21 schools, should I say then. What criteria was used to determine whether a school that is a Section 21 school can now pay for itself in terms of its financial stature, has the ability to pay for itself, when the money you give them may not necessarily be enough to do that, because they still need to upkeep the school? These are all no-fee paying schools. So the parents are not paying school fees necessarily.
No, that notion, it's not the true reflection of what is happening. We give enough allocation for schools to maintain and to also pay for their municipal accounts. Where there's major, like for instance, refurbishments that need to be undertaken, schools then submit to the department. The department will then take over of those projects. Schools don't have to do major refurbishments. So the money that we allocate, they must make sure that the grass is cut. If the window panes are broken, they need to buy and replace those. Not the huge maintenance that will need a lot of money. So the money that we allocate is enough, and those that will give the learner material money, it's enough for them to procure the learner material, because they will then be in a position to do that at their level. So that insinuation that money is not enough doesn't hold.
Okay, so does that mean that none of these schools then are supplementing their finances in any way because they don't need to, because they get enough from the government?
No, they get enough. The only schools that will want to supplement is those that are doing for matrics, extra curricular. Maybe they are doing it on weekends. They have sleepovers for the children that will camp there at the schools. Then they will request parents to donate, and then they will use that money to probably do those programs. But all the identified schools, we provide that extracurricular on, during holidays. Now we've identified schools that we're working with on weekends. K-12 don't even break, actually. They are on a continuous basis in a classroom. So they will then continue on that score.
Yeah.
But the insinuation that the money is not enough, no. And the issue of around schools in El Dorado Park, where we took the responsibility of paying accounts for them, they were not stable in terms of their financial management. And we then reassessed and checked those schools. And we informed them to say, now that you are stable, we're going to give you this function.
Yeah.
But we are not giving you only the function. Remember, we're giving them an allocation for them to pay on their own because it's legislated. According to legislation says they must manage those accounts.
All right. Steve, just as a final question then, can we say then that the education department in Gauteng is financially stable overall, despite all the needs, wants from different areas?
No, we can't say we're financially stable. Remember, there's an announcement that we are struggling in terms of budget across the board, be it national, be it provinces. We need to reprioritize and make sure that we manage, the purse sparingly. So we can't say we are stable. We are continuing and making sure that we prioritize and make sure that children are receiving curriculum on a day-to-day basis.